What's up, guys? We are back with another Super 7 Ultimates SDCC review, and we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe offerings from this year, which is two different Ultimates figures. We've got Red JACKAL, which is a Destro repaint, and we've got REDNOK, which is a Baroness repaint. Now, they're not just repaints, they're technically different characters, so you are getting two new figures, I suppose, when it comes to these. It's pretty similar to regular Ultimates packaging for the Joe line, except the camo is red, and for Red JACKAL, you get a skull and crossbones on the front instead of the Cobra logo. Now, normal stuff on the inside, take that slip cover off, and you've got your figure there in the big window with all the accessories. Red JACKAL gets a black color scheme, REDNOK gets a red color scheme, and then the back has more of the same stuff that we've seen with Wave 1 and 2, with the little screens and the bio for who each figure is. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our SDCC exclusive, not Destro and not Baroness, but that's basically what they are, right? And I'm no G.I. Joe historian by any means, not even close, but I am slightly familiar with what these are. So Red JACKAL was a UK, Europe variant of Destro, and REDNOK was an India variant of Baroness, although I believe she was a combination of figures. I think she was like Lady J and Baroness mashed together, but they were not US things, which is why they're basically Destro, they're basically Baroness, but in the same vein, they're not. They are very much their own thing. Now, for as far as these figures go, they're just repaints. They're just your normal Super 7 kind of SDCC exclusives, where they are repaints of existing figures. So we got a repaint of Destro, and we got a repaint of Baroness. Arguably the coolest, the best figures from Wave 2 G.I. Joe Ultimates. And in many ways, I kind of like these a little bit better than the regular figures. So we'll get to that here in a minute. But let's run through these figures. I'm going to run through articulation on them individually, and then we'll kind of talk about how they stack up to their mainline counterparts. So as far as moving this guy around, our not Destro figure is the same as our Destro figure, which is to say that he's fairly standard for an Ultimates figure. So our head can look up a little bit. Can't really look down too much. I mean, it does slightly, but not much. Little bit of bobble side to side for some attitude. You've got your rotation there. Arms out at the shoulders. They rotate. We've got our bicep swivel. Single jointed 90-degree elbow. You got hinges and rotation at the wrist. Torso is the one area where he's kind of locked down, and it's the one area of concern when it comes to posing him because he just has a waist twist. Granted, I understand why they do this, and I'm kind of happy with the fact that he doesn't have a carved up torso that doesn't do anything, but still, he's limited. You don't really have anything forward or backward, no tilt side to side, and you've got rotation, but you've got to watch this one. This one in particular seems to be like pushing on this belt really, really bad. I'm not really sure about that. My regular Destro doesn't necessarily do that, so I'm kind of curious about what's going on there. Legs go out pretty good. Not the splits or anything, though. They kick forward. Nothing backward. You've got your thigh twist. Single jointed, but better than 90-degree knee. And then down at those ankles, you've got really, really good rocker. And some solid hinges as well. So he basically moves how you would expect the majority of Ultimates figures to move. And if you've messed with anything G.I. Joe Ultimates, you know exactly what to expect. He is very much par for the course, very standard for the line. Now, as far as the visuals here, I just wanted to kind of compare them to their Wave 2 mainline counterparts, because these figures are very, very similar in just about every detail except for the color palette. And that's really all that matters here, is these color swaps and how they make the figures, look different, and in some ways I think look cooler. I'm leaning towards preferring this version of, well, not Destro, compared to the original. Don't get me wrong, this is probably my favorite figure in Ultimates G.I. Joe right now still, but I really, really like this Red JACKAL variant for Destro. I think it looks awesome. The colors are just different enough that he looks like an entirely different character, or he looks like, Destro he's just on a different mission or something like that. Whatever you want to use him for, it's a very cool looking figure. So we've got a bunch of small things that are changed up here. The eyes are a different color. They're red versus green. The collar is white versus red. And I think that might be the biggest thing here for me, is that white really draws you in and up to that head sculpt. He's got a different color necklace. The shirt is red rather than just, bare chest. And he's got that skull and crossbones tampoed there, which I really like. It also breaks up the sculpt a little bit, adds a little bit more pop of color. The belt and the emblem are a different color. And the boots are a different color, as are the gloves. They're black versus silver. Otherwise, it's the same figure. There are accessory changes to talk about for sure in terms of what this one doesn't come with by comparison. But overwhelmingly, It's the same figure. He just happens to be, you know, a different Destro type guy, or Destro on a different mission, or, you know, Destro when his normal outfit is at the dry cleaners. Whatever you want him to be, I think it looks cool. And this again is another instance of a really good exclusive type figure. This guy should not be in the main line. He's ripe for the picking when it comes to being an exclusive. Just repaint Destro and you're done. But I really like this. The colors are clean and bright and vibrant. Everything pops on this guy. The red, the white, the black really plays against each other. And the silver, just like on the first figure, is incredibly metallic and very, very shiny, so I'm very happy with that. So it's just another instance of a Destro-ish figure that in many cases, to me, kind of looks cooler. Now for our REDNOK figure, our totally not Baroness figure, she's the same as the regular Baroness, so if you messed with her, you know what to expect. She's fairly standard for a female Ultimates. Her hair is the one big area of concern because it locks her down so bad. She really can't do anything, and I'm sure you can see why. The hair goes over the shoulders, both front and back, so there's just nowhere for her to move. Everything gets stuck. Arms go out at the shoulders. They rotate. We've got a bicep swivel. We've got single jointed 90-degree elbows. There is rotation there. You got hinges. You've got rotation at the wrist. She does have a diaphragm cut, and it does afford some movement, but she doesn't really get to use it all that much, if that makes any sense. She does have a ball peg waist, and she can kick backwards. She can crunch forwards, like, I mean, you can call it the slightest of crunches, really. But she does have some bobble side to side, but it doesn't really stay. And then you really only get rotation up here at the torso because of how she's put together. Like, the waist is so tight that you really can't twist that. Legs go out. You do have to watch the holster she's got. You know, it's going to get in the way of that thigh. Kick forward about that far. Kick backwards slightly. You've got your thigh twist. We've got single jointed 90-degree knees. She does have a boot cut, which is nicely hidden there. And then you've got rocker and you've got hinges down at these ankles. I will say that these ankles seem to be pretty tight, but she does have heels, so I'm not too upset about that. She can be a little bit of an annoyance to balance because of that. You know, that's normal for female figures that wear heels. It always can be a balancing act, but she does seem to be okay, thanks to some relatively rigid ankle joints down there, but nothing that I needed to heat up. So again, she's very much, well, exactly the same as that first Baroness figure, and very par for the course with what we've seen so far for G.I. Joe Ultimates, especially when it comes to females. Now, I think the visual changes on this one in particular are a little bit more stark and quite obvious. It's a huge color palette swap from blue to red. And like I mentioned, the REDNOK figure, you know, was a variant figure that was a combination of other figures. This is literally just the cartoon Baroness done up in REDNOK colors. So it's Baroness but red, basically. There are some other small changes here, specifically at the face level, that make her look a little bit different. There is more paint on the face this time around. It's not a fully painted face like we saw with Wave 1, so that issue still remains with this exclusive version, but there does seem to be a little bit of a difference here. The eyes are different, the eyebrows are different, the lips are also different, and this is consistent across all the heads that this new figure comes with. So we do have some slight changes. Dare I say the new heads do look a little bit better. They're still not perfect, and there still was room for improvement here, but I'm assuming this figure was made at the same time as this figure, which is how we're able to get this at San Diego this year. But we do have some pretty solid changes beyond that. The color palette is the big one. So we've got a red jumpsuit with sort of, you know, darker red gloves and boots instead of the black. And then you've got gray for the belt and the sort of straps and the collar on the shirt, as well as a gray holster. My same concerns and frustrations with the holster that I had on the first figure exist here too. That peg just doesn't really go in that hole on her hip all that well, but it's okay. We do have some pinstriping down the side. It's gray this time as well. So we do have a few changes. There's not as much necessarily that's a lot cooler on this figure to me than compared to the Destro, but I do really like this version also. You know, they even did something like they changed up the color of her glasses, things like that. So it is an entirely changed figure. It's just Baroness but red. So your mileage may vary on how cool you think that is, but I do really like this one. My one gripe I think I have with this figure is that the actual red on the jumpsuit is kind of, I don't know, the word is like, you know, kind of dull. The word is dull, I think, in some ways. It's not as vibrant as the blue on this jumpsuit is. Something about it just sort of kind of fades into itself, if that makes any sense. But the red on the boots and the gloves help her to kind of break up and stand out a little bit more, as does that gray as well. The major change for this figure that I think is putting her in the, the right direction is the additional face paint. It's not a lot. And again, this Baroness figure I think was the best example of faces, human faces that were, humanoid anyway, in Wave 1 because she had blush and everything on her cheeks. This one does have a little bit more, and I think the eyes and the lips on this one in particular do make her stand out a bit better and make her look a little bit more in line with Wave 1 Ultimate Joes compared to what we got with Wave 2. Now, as far as accessories goes, these two do have a pretty solid spread, but they definitely have less than came with the Wave 2 counterparts, and that's mostly because of the whole idea behind G.I. Joe Ultimates in general. Being a cartoon line, these are not really cartoon figures necessarily, so they don't get the stuff that is very specific when it comes to what Destro and Baroness came with initially. So to start with, we do get 2 extra heads we'll start with Baroness. So she's got the smirking head, so you've got like the stoic head on her in the box, you've got the smirking head, and you've got what was like the disguise head on her in the cartoon first release figure with the circular glasses. The hair had different paint applications on that one. This one doesn't, so it's just like a different style of glasses, really. The face is a little bit different, though. Again, across the board, all the faces do seem to be a little bit better here than with their Wave 2 counterparts, just by virtue of having, at least it seems like, has a little bit more paint on them. We do get some extra hands, so we get a singular left trigger finger hand. We get a singular right pointing finger hand, which can also be used as another gun holding hand. And then we get 2 gripping hands. So you get 4 extra hands. And then we get this just sort of little machine gun. You get a black one. Destro, well, not Destro, comes with one as well. And then we also get her little pistol that will go in the holster. Again, I find the holster to be a little bit cumbersome just because of how it all pegs together. So she comes with some. She doesn't come with a whole lot just compared to the first figure. Like, she doesn't come with the gas mask head. She doesn't come with the syringe. Stuff like that. Stuff that, I don't necessarily need a second version of. Now, for not Destro, he does come with 2 alternate heads as well. So you get the yelling head, and we get the laughing head, and no, it's not a paint error. He has his eyes closed. I do really like this one. That's a very Destro head to have. He comes with a set of pointing / trigger finger hands. These are what he uses to hold a gun. And then you get a set of gripping hands as well. So 4 extra hands for him also. He does, like I mentioned, come with that same black gun. So you get another one of those. We get this very, very like toy color red pistol with him, like a laser pistol. Kind of matches REDNOK over there. So he's got that. We also get the binoculars. So we had these with the first figure. No branding on them this time, no Cobra branding. So he's got that. And we get the gauntlets for the hands as well. So you get the missile array. You get 2 of those actually. And then you get the grenades as well. And you get 2 of these also. So you can pop those on his wrists and he can use those. And then he also comes with this. He gets a backpack, and the first Destro figure did not have a backpack. This is actually Flint's backpack repainted from Wave 2 to match his color scheme, which is kind of cool. And it does fit on him pretty well also. I was kind of surprised to see this included just based on the fact that, the first figure didn't include this, and yet this exclusive does get something at least a little bit extra. So they do come with a solid array of stuff. Like, there's still a lot of stuff in these boxes, but when you compare them, piece by piece to the first releases, they are going to come with less just by virtue of the fact that you probably don't need some of that more cartoon specific stuff with these guys. Like, I don't need the heirloom mask for this figure, and I don't need the lava face for this figure. Stuff like that has been omitted. So yeah, overall, these are a really solid set of figures, and another good example of what an exclusive should be. This is a not mainline type of release. They're variants from foreign markets at the time of existing figures. So if you've already got Destro, you already got Baroness, maybe you don't have to have them. If you want the full set, or if you want those characters in different gear, you can have an option now. And they both make some changes for the better to those original figures. I think Destro just happens to look cooler. I like a lot of those small changes, and Baroness does definitely have better face detailing, better eyes, things like that on this new set of head sculpts. The only true negative compared to the original figures is that there is a decided lack of accessories, because a lot of the stuff in those first figures doesn't necessarily go with these. And while there is the argument to be made that they're the same price, they should have had all the same stuff, Frankly, I don't need all of that again, so I'm not too personally upset about having a million other of the same accessories that I've already got in Wave 2. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates SDCC exclusive G.I. Joe, Red Jackal, and REDNOK. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.